the Now That We're a Family podcast.
Katie, we're back.
I'm like so nervous, you guys.
It does. It feels like it's the first time doing something. It's the first podcast we've ever recorded.
Yeah, it totally feels that way. I was just like second guessing everything I was going to say inside. And it used to be this just like, you know, like breathing, jumping on the podcast was so fun and easy.
Yes.
And I'm excited for it to feel the same way in this new studio.
Yes. Well, it will eventually, like you said, I think feel this way. And I think that not only do we take a substantial break from the podcast, and that was the first time we've ever done that in almost 3 years, we had done a podcast episode every week. And so taking a 3-month break, it felt out of the ordinary. And it was a little bit overwhelming thinking about jumping back in.
Yeah, because it's just, I don't know, everything. And we're dealing with, okay, so I feel like if you're listening to this on like iTunes or something, we need to give you a little context.
Yes.
If you're on YouTube, then you can see like...
It's a new studio. I think that's part of the reason why we are intimidated too, is because we really wanted a studio that we were excited about. And so we renovated our garage into a studio. We've got a backdrop with our new logo. We've got new yellow chairs.
How cool is that?
These were actually the first things we purchased we purchased these like 5 months ago.
Yeah, we did.
Because we wanted to use these at some point for our podcast studio. And so these were like the first things we bought these yellow chairs for the podcast studio, and then we kind of built our brand around them, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, like before we even rebranded or anything, we like sent the graphic design guy the picture of the yellow chairs. We're like, make something that goes with this, because we just wanted it to be really fun and not too stiff and formal, because that's where we're at in life, is that we want to be really intentional. Yeah. We want to be life-giving, but we also just want to be fun and, you know, not take ourselves too seriously, which is what I'm having a hard time doing, honestly, when we have like 3 cameras and new mics and everything just poking me in the face. But
yeah, I think that's what I was going to finish saying, that not only do we take a big break. No, I don't think you interrupted me. I think I derailed myself. Not only do we take a substantial break from the podcast, now it feels we like invested in new microphones. We invested in our new chairs, our new branding, in new cameras, in new lights. Whew, wow.
Well, if you guys
it's like, I feel like our setup's so much more professional now. We need to be more professional. There's, I think, a propensity to feel that way.
Yeah, definitely a propensity to feel that way. If you guys remember, we quit the podcast. Well, one of our second to last episodes, we were talking about, should we quit? Should we not quit?
Yes.
And then we decided, you know what, we're going to take a break. And we knew that our 2 options were either go all in and really commit to this and be like, this is something we want for the long term. Where's it going? What's our mindset around it? What do we want to talk about to you guys, our listeners? We don't just want to be talking heads, you know, just spitting air. We wanted to be intentional about what we were saying. And so we took a lot of time off to think about all that, and we decided we did want to go ahead with the podcast, because it was either quit it or really go
like
more
double
all in.
down. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and so we opted for the doubling down, which led to us just making a financial investment in nicer stuff, and then I think, like you said, just more of a time investment too, where we want to be intentional about the content we're speaking of, you know, in preparation, and so anyways, we are still the same people though. Clearly, you know, we're
still the same glitches in our podcast.
Yeah, we are going to have the same, very low production elements to our podcast. And you know, we weren't talking. I don't think we were planning on doing this, Katie, for this episode. But should we give them a brief like trajectory of now that we're a family, like where we're taking it? Yeah, would that be fun?
Okay, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, and the reason I'm excited to do this is because our podcast listeners feel, like,
how do you guys feel?
Yeah, well, to me, it seems like they know us more in a more intimate way than a lot of people, maybe even on Instagram or YouTube, because it's the long form conversation. I think that's what makes it feel like I'm more comfortable speaking to our podcast audience probably than any other audience. And so it's going to be fun to kind of share with you all what we wanted to do with now that we're a family going forward, because we have shifted. As you can see, we rebranded, and Katie and I's heart for I think our faith for the Lord, for the gospel, and digging further and further and understanding more and more the depth and the beauty and the power of the gospel, we're more passionate about that than ever. We're more passionate about marriage and about children and about all things family than ever. But something that we really solidified, I think, in this break is that we also don't, like what you already kind of alluded to, we don't want to become stuffy or take ourselves too seriously, or I don't know I don't know what we're trying to avoid. I know what we do want to portray, though, and that is we want a fun, positive perspective on faith and family and marriage. And so that was kind of some of the things we went for with the new brand, because clearly we don't have to go look for some of the heavier, serious issues in life. And I'm so grateful that there are highly qualified individuals to speak to some of those things in a serious way. But Katie and I feel like we want to speak to some of the fun things in life, and we want to, even with serious issues, have a fun perspective on them. Would you say that's kind of accurate?
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun happening right there.
Did I say the fun word a lot of times?
I think, yeah, okay, that was good.
Yeah, you're going to add something?
Yeah, well, I was going to just say we are going to talk about serious issues.
Yes, I didn't want to, you're right. I'm glad you clarified.
Like, this isn't like a jolly joke podcast, I guess.
Nope.
This is one of the first times, though, we are trying to articulate this to out loud, so we'll get better and better. But basically, now that we're a family as a brand, when it comes to what we're producing as a company, we really want it to be fun, engaging things that you can do together as a family to just build those relationships and strengthen those relationships. And we're going to talk about broken relationship and what to do with some of the stickier issues that relationships bring. But what we want to focus on is just building the family bond and a lot of that happens in a fun way. Like when Elisha and I look back to me being raised in a family of 11 kids, him being raised in a family of 10 children, and both of us having great experiences in those families, we think, wow, a lot of the relationship building that happened was around these shared values and these shared experiences. And we live in a culture today that really segregates a lot of family by age and stage. And we see this in church. We see this with school. We see this with any extracurricular events. And a lot of our best memories were, playing music as a family, skiing as a family, playing pickup soccer as a family, learning new things as a family, just like work projects. And so we just want to give more opportunity and more discussion around the sticking points of doing all these things together, and also kind of help you guys craft your own family memories.
Yes. Wow. I could not have articulated our vision any better. That was great, because I think what you just said is at the core of what we want to do. We want to be advocates and huge supports and proponents for family and creating family culture that's healthy and God honoring. But we don't just want to talk about it or tell people to go do it. We want to give opportunity for it. And so we want even Voetberg Music Academy music courses, we really want to start gearing those towards families and playing together as families, or the cooking show that's coming out.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I know.
Man, you're just
I'm telling you,
everything.
I'm giving our podcast listeners all the good information. We want that to be geared towards families doing it together. And so, yes, we want to encourage you to go find things to do as a family, but then we also want to provide resources that you can use together as a family. Because like Katie said, school, church, sports, any music lessons that you're doing, they really tend to segregate the families and separate families by level or by age or by category. And so there's plenty of that out there. And of course it's necessary in some ways. And so we just want to find as many opportunities as possible to be together as a family and to do things together as a family.
Yeah, we've mentioned this before, but there's this, here I go again, mentioning some kind of stat that I have no background for, no proof for, but you can look this up for yourself. And there's just a really high percentage that you are going to be best friends with, worst enemies with, or fall in love with the people who you're just around all the time. And that's why Elisha and I have a lot of boundaries in our marriage and stuff like that with members of the opposite sex or, just different things, because it doesn't matter what your intention is. You just end up developing very intense emotion for whoever you spend a lot of time with, whether that's positive or negative. And so with family, we really want that to obviously a trend in the positive way. But when we have people just all over the map and not hanging out together, you can't really form those intense friendships. And that's when, it's just, you miss out, I think, on just a really rich blessing in life. And so, so we're just on a journey to pursue that with our own family and to bring you guys along on that journey. So you'll be able to find all these things in future at nowthatwe'reafamily.com. And right now, actually, if you go to nowthatwe'reafamily.com, that's just where the hub is going to be for anything that we produce in the future and anything that we've actually been working on a lot of things while we've taken time off. And that is there on the website as well. So it's just something fun to go check out if you guys are interested.
Yeah. So, I mean, we will share more and more about what the future of Now That We're a Family holds as time goes on. And then you'll just see, if you pay attention, if you follow along, you'll see what we're going to be doing. So we did have some things we wanted to cover in today's episode. And Katie and I were both going to share some personal takeaways from the 3 months off from the podcast. Just having that time that freed up, it really ended up being maybe like 15 hours a week that got freed up. And we were able to put that into different places, like you said, start some new projects. But we also, I think it provided some challenges too, quite honestly. And so, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Why don't you start?
Okay. My first takeaway was, I don't even know, I'm not very good at putting a title to these takeaways, but it was, I found that I started taking like where you're at in your faith and for granted, not meaning, I think having the podcast once a week was always, it helped me see into what you were learning and what the Lord was teaching you with what you brought up. And I think that not having that time, I didn't compensate for not hearing that and seek you out and ask what the Lord's teaching you and share with you what the Lord's teaching me. I think we had a lot of just kind of like generic faith conversations where we would, because we've been going to church very consistently, so we would talk about the sermon or the message on the way home from church, and we would agree on different points, or we would disagree on different points, and we would have that conversation. But as far as like hearing what you're personally studying, what the Lord's been placing on your heart, what he's been revealing to you through his word, and how the Holy Spirit's been convicting you and leading you, I think I failed to seek you out in that area. And it was something that I didn't realize the podcast was kind of giving me every week, being able to hear what the Lord had placed on your heart, what he was teaching you. And so that was something that I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, you and I both kind of came to that realization. It's not that we were both having our quiet time with the Lord. We were both getting in his word on a daily basis, but then we weren't sharing with each other what the Lord was teaching us. And I think that gave, quite honestly, I think that gave the devil a lot of kind of like room to start creeping into our thought life and to start having, bringing doubts in and like start assuming things of the other person, because we weren't, even when we were doing date night, we weren't talking about those types of things. You were doing the classic, like talking about the kids and talking about finances and home renovation projects, just talking about practical things on date night, or just being, having fun on date nights. And so something that I am deeply convicted of is seeking out conversations and pursuing conversations with you about what the Lord's teaching you, sharing what he's teaching me, so that we can feel that unity and that like-mindedness, and also just like that there's like a comfort of knowing your spouse is growing in their faith. Like there's just a great blessing. And you have been growing in your faith this whole time. Yeah. And I have too, but we weren't doing it in a united way. I didn't know about how you were growing, and I don't think you knew about how I was growing. And so that allowed for a lot of like questioning and doubt to creep in.
Yeah, I think when you drew that correlation between those two things, it kind of like surprised me, because we were having these conversations where I was like, where is this coming from? Like, I do feel like this has actually been a really good time for me spiritually, and growing in my relationship with the Lord. But you're right that we've had this podcast for 2 years, 3 years, and it's kind of served that purpose actually for us growing relationally, spiritually, and hearing where the other person was at and where their heart was. And I just think, you know, so many people will ask us, well, do you guys do like couples devotionals or, you know, any of those things? And we don't. That's not been something Elisha and I have ever done together. It kind of feels like homework. And when you have work, homework just doesn't really seem that fun. You know, you don't really want to do that. But the podcast has served as that. And so I think that it's just been a reminder to both of us, or not even a reminder, just a heads up, something we weren't aware of before.
Yeah, exactly.
It was that if we aren't having these conversations, then like we need time and we need something weekly that's bringing us together to talk about spiritual things and to get a pulse on where the other person is spiritually, so that we can support them in where they're struggling and encourage each other when, you know, we are growing well, and just be that iron sharpening iron. But it doesn't just naturally happen.
Right.
And we didn't notice that for a couple months. And then all of a sudden we were like, where are you?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it was crazy. The assumptions that I had, it was really unfair of me just to be like, man, I don't think Katie's been getting in the word that much, or I wonder what her prayer life is, or I wonder if she's whatever. Like, it was just bizarre, these things I was putting on you that were not anywhere close to true. And you could have done the exact same things for me because I wasn't seeking out those conversations or asking you about what you were learning or, you know, how you were growing.
Well, it is a little harder to mistake that when it comes to you, because you do your Bible time at the kitchen table. It's like,
that is a good point.
I see you with your Bible open. You know, with my mornings, I'm never in the same room.
Yes, that's a good point. You
when
like
I'm
go off
getting
to
in the
your
Word.
little corner.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even, you found like a room in our house that I didn't even know existed. You go hide out in there.
It's because I move around depending on where the kids are.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was a really like aha moment for us.
It was. Yeah. And it also made me see the blessing of this podcast. I don't want to like be dependent on having a podcast every week to know where you're at with your walk with the Lord. But it is nice that every time we've got a podcast episode, we spend an hour or, you know, roughly an hour before talking through what we want to share about, why we want to share about it. We have the time where we're actually recording, and then we always have like a recap afterwards. And so it's been this weekly opportunity to check in and really hear where the other person's at. And so I'm grateful for it. And I'm glad that it's back, that we get to have this time to connect. But I also want to be aware of future seasons if we're not doing a weekly podcast, or if, you know, we're taking some time off, to make sure that, and even in addition to the podcast, while we're doing it, just checking in and sharing with you what I'm learning and hearing what you're learning.
And it's funny, even as I'm listening, I'm like, we could probably come up with a tool of some kind to like think through, you know, like 1 or 2 things to just like ask each other during the week or after the week.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do any of you guys who are listening ever feel that way? Like you don't know where your spouse is spiritually, or maybe you've just never talked about it, so you don't feel that void. Anyways, it'd be interesting to know.
Yes. It's just such a blessing to at least know where the other person's at, how they're learning, what they're learning, and how they're growing.
And I mean, we had a couple unprecedented things happen during this time that contributed to all of these doubts coming up and stuff. It wasn't like, I mean, it's obvious if your spouse is like snapping at the kids and stressed out, like not living in the spirit is one thing.
Right.
I feel like.
Yes.
And it's another to be like, it was different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like all of a sudden I was like having a bad attitude all the time.
Right. Yes.
I feel like it comes across that way.
No.
But that wasn't like
that's not what I want to communicate
We
either.
had a few random experiences happen where we had to like talk through them, and it was a new thing for our marriage.
And they were outside, like they were things outside of our sphere that happened kind of like to us that were really outside of our control.
Yeah.
And it just kind of shook. It kind of was a weird experience for us. And so, maybe we'll talk about that at some point in the future.
Yeah,
like,
maybe in 3 years.
Yeah, like 10 years from now when it's not a sore subject. So, yeah. Folks, I'm interrupting today's episode to tell you of something that is very important to me and I think could be of great interest to you. Voetberg Music Academy. That is the online music school that Katie and I started 6 years ago with the intent of being able to offer affordable lessons to families. If you have any interest in learning the piano, the guitar, the fiddle, or the ukulele, or the mandolin, and you don't know anything, maybe your children are desiring to learn one of these instruments, and they don't know anything about the instruments, Voetberg Music Academy may be the best place to start. Not only do we specialize in helping beginners get started, we also specialize in affordable lessons, and we also specialize in getting families playing together. So, if you are interested in your family playing any of these instruments, piano, guitar, fiddle, mandolin, ukulele, go over to VoetbergMusicAcademy.com, and when you go to sign up, if you use the coupon code PODCAST, you will get 15% off every month. Because it's a monthly subscription, it's already crazy affordable, but you'd get 15% off that crazy affordable price every month if you use the coupon code PODCAST. So head over there, enjoy your lessons. Can't wait to hear your progress. Now let's get back to today's episode. So, yeah.
Okay. I think for me, so I wrote down 3 things that I changed. I think Elisha, I don't know what we're doing. We're talking about what's happened during the last 3 months.
Sure.
So one of the things that's changed for me is I had one big project to finish out, which was the Get It All Done Club. And we did that. I poured the extra energy I had into that. And aside from that project, I've just been full-time mommy.
Yes.
And full-time wife.
Oh.
And that has been like a totally change of pace for all of us.
It's been awesome. I mean, you think it's been awesome, right?
Oh yeah, no, I've loved it. I felt more at peace than I ever have.
Yes.
I feel more vision for the future because I don't feel like, okay, how is this possible? Like I'm gonna burn out.
Yes.
This is a strain on our marriage. Like all those stresses. We still have had obviously new stresses and different types of stresses, but yeah, I have loved being home with the kids, and that has been the biggest change. I can't thank you enough for pushing me to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you say home with the kids. You never were like working outside of the home. You've always been.
The interesting thing with being online is that you can definitely be outside of your home while still being in your home.
Wow.
Mentally, my brain was somewhere else. Most of the hours of the day, I was thinking of other people's problems and other people's questions and concerns, and it was taking all my time and my thought life, and the children were constantly underfoot. And even though I loved them and I had little times in my day that were devoted to them, it was not the amount of time that we all needed.
Wow.
And so now I just feel like my life has gotten a lot smaller, and my world, like the problems I'm dealing with are literally like Louie's problems instead of, someone else outside my home. So it's not perfect, but we made huge progress, and I'm not doing any more big projects. So that's been a big blessing.
That's so cool. I'm so glad you brought that up, because since that, we made that change really a few months ago, since we haven't been able to talk about it, but it's really become the new normal for us. So yeah, I do want to just commend you for making that dramatic change. We were pretty dramatic about it. We were really dramatic. We're like, okay, we've got to be extreme with this, because not to run through like a whole timeline, but I quit working like a salary job about a year ago, or almost a year ago. And we jumped into, 100% just being entrepreneurial and living on that. And while we were doing that, it definitely felt like, okay, we've got to be scrappy and we've got to do what it takes. And so we were both hustling side by side, shoulder to shoulder, making stuff work. And it was a blast, and we got some momentum in things. And I wouldn't necessarily do that any differently, but I don't think we had like an exit strategy from that.
It wasn't clear. I think we both knew, okay, ultimately I want to stay home, as far as like, I don't want to work at home mom or work outside the home mom. I didn't want either of those things. And Elisha wanted to be the sole provider. And we had that when we got married. We had that, 5 years into marriage, but it was really fuzzy.
Yes.
On how we were going to get there.
Yes. And so time kept going on, and we were abundantly provided for. We're like, this is awesome, but it felt so dependent on you doing almost as much as I was doing, or sometimes more. If I was working 40 or 50 hours a week, you were working 40 or 50 hours a week as well in certain seasons, sometimes more.
Yeah, and it was
during
kind
certain
of a
seasons.
Bummer too, because I felt like Elisha had more potential to resent the kids because you were taking them so often, and then I it was just bad, you guys. We have podcast episodes on that. It was just stressful. Our whole home was stressful, and we had great moments. We had good times. Elisha and I do love to dream together and work together. That's something that our relationship is like. It's like foundational for our relationship, I feel like. But we've learned to do that in different ways.
Yes.
And I think the difficult thing when it comes to money, when it comes to growth, is it's kind of like a drug, and you can always pursue it. You know, like the heart of man's never satisfied. So it was always going to go like, and this is the cool thing. We always thought it was going to go faster if I was involved. And the weird thing is when I got uninvolved, we have made 10 times more progress.
Yes.
In a much less stressful way.
Yes.
Well, thanks to Elisha, he's just like pulling so hard. You're doing so much. And
I think it's way better for our family this way.
But I guess that's the crazy thing. When you do what you feel like the Lord has placed on your heart and make the changes that, we knew that the way we were operating was outside God's will for our lives individually, like with our family. And when we made that shift, it was like this faith walk a little bit. We were like, how's this going to be? Yeah. But it's just been nothing but a blessing. Yeah.
Because in the way it was kind of like dramatic. I logged you out of social media accounts and email accounts and out of the back office for the websites and changed the passwords because you were so intricately involved in the day-to-day operations of our businesses. And we were both like, how do we get the toothpaste back in the tube? And then
I'm kind of a control freak with certain things, which is where we got to where we were. Yeah. But that's the cool thing too, is the Lord has given, I think I have such a desire, like Elisha and I are so united in this change for our family that I feel like I've just let go of control of everything. Like I'm not, if a customer's mad, I don't know about it. If something's breaking, I don't know about it. Right. And it's not my problem and I don't feel like it's my problem anymore. And so that's really cool. Yes. And I think our customers are happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, business is good, which I'm grateful for. And our home is so much more peaceful and more enjoyable. We love our evenings at home now. We love being able to just spend time together as a family out in the yard, and just, I don't know, everything about our home has become so much more enjoyable, which has made it that much easier to be productive during the day with business. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think something we work on now and dream on is our yard.
Yeah.
We're those people. Yes. And we're very happy to be those people.
Yeah.
It feels like we're working together, dreaming together, but it's it's not money related, and it's so fun.
It is fun. That's great. I'm so glad you brought that up. I think I'm going to share just one more thing because I want to be able to have some time to talk about it. Because I think that during this season, I was able to, revisit and reestablish what are non-negotiables, and meaning what's on the table for being chopped out of our life, for being pruned. We've talked about this because. What did you want to do? A whole episode on this?
I wanted to do a whole episode on this topic. Whoa. I know it's been on your mind, but I feel like it's so good and so meaty, and it needs to be fleshed out all the way.
Wow! So you just want me to cut it off right now?
Can we wait till next week?
This is a teaser, huh?
Can we wait till next week?
Sure. This is the trailer for
you guys,
next week's episode.
I don't know if you saw me giving him the eyes.
Yeah, I saw you giving me the eye.
No, don't go there.
Man. Okay, well then.
Here he goes. Yeah, I'm totally not a control freak anymore.
Well, no, I'm glad.
Well, there's certain things. I just think this is a really good topic, and I think it's a big topic, and one that I just I think people should take away and just think on that one thing.
That makes sense. Okay, so we'll save that for its. I'm honored that you think one of my 3 points today was good enough for its own podcast episode. I will. I had a third point. Something that, and this is probably going to be redundant if you've listened to our podcast for any time at all. I think we've revisited this numerous times. Is how the practical things affect what you think are emotional or spiritual or relational problems. Meaning, Katie and I might have, or it's what's going on? We're not connecting very well, or, why are the kids getting on my nerve more than usual? Or why do I feel a lack of direction or a lack of clarity for my future? And realizing oh, I need to sleep more, or I need to exercise my body, or I've not been eating well. I've not been eating. And you get some of those basics kind of under control or back. You get a healthier, a better trajectory with those things. And you realize so many of those daunting like relational things that you thought you're going to need to address kind of like disappear. And you realize that even, the business problems that you were facing are really not that big of a deal. And I think that just revisit, and I think summer has always had a way of knocking us off of our routine and our rhythms that we've put in place that keep us healthy, that keep us sleeping better. We've got like those bookends that all of a sudden, here's the other thing too, actually. Here in North Idaho, this is our first summer, and I didn't realize it's like basically Alaska where it doesn't get dark all summer. That's what it feels like.
It's true.
I mean, it's not that extreme, but it is the most extreme place that we've lived ever, where the number of daylight hours are many of them are many of the hours are lighted by day. And I am blown away with how that is affect our flow, where the kiddos aren't, during the winter, it's like the kiddos will go to bed at 7:30, and you and I would have like an hour plus to really connect, to check in, and then we could plan the next day, kind of have our book end there for the book end of the day. And then we'd have our morning, and it would be dark until like 8 a.m. So the kids wouldn't be getting up until, I don't know. It's nuts. I don't know. It doesn't add up. The kids like don't sleep anymore.
Well, this last week, they've been going to bed so late. They have been sleeping in.
That's
so
been
like
that's because we
7:30.
put that like effective blackout curtain.
Oh, you're right.
That was a game changer, which is probably like really obvious for anybody that's listening. It's like, why didn't you put blackout curtains up?
I know. We
sooner?
had brown curtains. They were dark. They were brown.
Yes, but going for the full black has made it.
Yeah, a full black curtain. Okay, I feel like we do have bookends now. We're just getting to bed at like midnight.
Yeah, and so it's really thrown off like, and I know that this is, I need to find some workarounds, but for whatever reason, my miracle morning routine is such like, it's like it determines how much time I spend in the Word, how I eat, how I exercise. It determines so much. I probably shouldn't be so dependent on my miracle morning. Anyways, well, I've just been reminded of how those practical things.
I'm just like zoning out, like, gotta get this miracle morning.
I do.
in place.
It's like the miracle morning is my biggest ally when I'm experiencing it, and it's my arch nemesis when it's eluding me. And so, yeah, it is. It's a big deal.
Yeah, let's just marinate on that. Oh man. So, but you're saying that sometimes we think, oh, there's something like massively wrong with my life. I need to do this massive shift. And it just really comes down to, oh, it's just like simple little things that aren't big and dramatic.
Yep.
If all those things are in order and I'm still feeling this way, then something needs to change.
Yes.
But if those things are out of order.
That's right. Just have I been drinking enough water? Have I been taking my vitamins? Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. That's good.
That,
I feel like that's actually a really big thing.
It
especially
is.
with with hormones and moods and all that. All of us struggle with that to a certain extent. And it's nice to just not stress in those seasons.
Yes.
Something's so wrong. It's like, just get the little things in line.
Yes, that's right.
I love that. Okay, something else that's changed over the last 3 months is I have so many real life friends.
Whoa, you do. This
probably isn't going to like matter to you guys.
This is a big deal for our family's life.
Do you think it's good or bad or just different?
I think it's good and different, yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, it's really good.
It used to really stress Elisha out when I had no friends. I think because he wanted to hang out with his friends, and I always wanted him to hang out with me. I didn't have any kids. And so, like, if he went and hung out with someone, I'm literally just sitting at home.
Yeah, so it never
I'd
felt
work,
like
so
this.
you guys wonder why I have developed this obsession.
Well, it always felt like a huge withdrawal anytime I would hang out with friends, because I knew you were just sitting at home waiting for me to come home.
Yeah, like checking that time.
Yeah, and I'd be like, well, why don't you call so-and-so and see if, why don't you call your friends and see if they can come over, you can hang out with them. Because then it could be more of like a win-win, or like a wash. And like, well, I don't want to hang out with anybody. I don't have any friends. It's like, ugh.
So my family have always been my closest friends. I have 7 sisters, and my mom. So they were like all the feminine energy that I needed in my life. And then Elisha's sisters were also my friends.
Yes.
But aside from family, and we don't live near family anymore, it was just kind of like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I needed it. The weird thing is I still don't feel like I need friends, in quotations. Like, I'm very introverted. I'm very self-sustaining. And now that we have so many kids, Elisha stays home and hangs out with me. So it's great.
Yeah.
But,
well, you are my favorite person to hang out with. And so
that's changed since when we were newly married.
What? No, I love
was not your best friend when we first got married.
You were my favorite person to hang out with.
Okay. Not for friendly reasons.
Whoa.
It's true. You would say that. Like you would really, like, you would watch a movie and be like, oh, I can't wait to tell so-and-so about this.
You're right.
Or like, oh, there's this cool spot in town. I can't wait to show so-and-so about this.
That's a good point.
It was never like, I wasn't the first person you popped into mind.
Yes. If I read something funny or if I heard something, like notewortty, you weren't
or
always
even if
like
you were
the first
processing
person.
through something that was like difficult, you wanted to call someone else and talk about it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And we didn't have that trust in our relationship yet. And like just the other day, Elisha made my day actually. Where was I? You were staying here by yourself. You were home by yourself. Maybe you were gone. Anyways, you watched a movie by yourself and you said you wished I was there to watch it with you.
Is that right?
Because it would have been more fun. And I was like, what?
Oh, man.
Anyways, I forget when it
Yeah.
was. It was a while ago, a couple weeks ago.
Maybe I was like at my family's house.
Yeah.
I went over there.
Something happened. Anyways, what was it? Oh yeah, but now I have real life friends and we hang out and I think it's so healthy. Like, it's something that I have to force myself to do because I'm talking myself out of it. Like when I'm getting in the car to go hang out, but it is always such a blessing. And I just am reminded of that in-person connection with people at a church, people in person. And I know that some parts of the world, this isn't even a possibility still, which is really sad. But I think I thought that online was just the same. And I do have some great friends online I'm so grateful for, but I think that it's been really healthy for me just mentally and just to get out there and talk to other people in person.
Yes.
Kind of a novel idea in the 21st century. For someone like me, it is.
Yeah, you're right. It sounds like it's this huge shift, and it kind of has been a huge shift, but I'm reminded of that every time you fellowship with believers in person, and it's just such a blessing.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, there's so many things that the Bible tells us to do, and it's just like for our own good. It's not like it's this burden or this laborious, like, oh, I have to do this. It's so obligatory. It's like, no, this is like a blessing. It's awesome. And I feel like fellowshipping in person is one of those things where like we're just the beneficiaries, and hopefully we benefit others too, and hopefully it's honoring to God too.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there have been a lot of like actual seismic shifts, just like in the way that Elisha and I do things and in like who we are as a couple and as a family. And it's been wonderful.
Yes.
I think the Lord has really been leading us. I pray that we will continue to just be like in tune to how he's prompting our hearts, because I think that some of these changes we've kind of fought for a while.
Yes.
And there was just so much peace that came into our home when we stopped fighting and just gave up some of the things we were clinging tightly to. I can speak for myself on this.
I think you're right. I agree with you. Yeah.
So yeah, for this is like so huge. It's so life-changing that for the first time in my life, I have 100% trust in you and in like everything you're doing. I don't feel the need to check anything like, okay, in every area of life.
Okay.
I'm not
like your salvation. Like,
no, in you, Elisha. Like, I'm just so trusting with, I guess, like our financial state.
Yeah.
I used to always check the bank accounts.
Yep.
I used to just check everything. I used to always check everything work related, just go behind you and check it all.
Right.
And it was like this, I don't know what it was, but I think we've reached this point in our relationship where Elisha's just like proven over and over and over that he actually does things a lot better than I do.
Well,
90% of the time.
Even prior to me proving, I think that you honored me because it was something that I made a request, I think. And I think that prior to me proving it, you just honored me and choosing to trust me.
Well, we took that step.
Yes, we took that step.
But I guess it feels cool that I'm sitting here and nothing on my brain is thinking, for weeks, oh, I need to check this or I need to make sure this is happening.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, and Elisha's just, dude, you're just awesome.
Well,
you're so far away on this chair.
I'm so grateful that you've given me the opportunity. I don't know. It was a step of faith for you. I do think that oftentimes
You'd proven yourself. It shouldn't have been a step of faith.
Well, there were still some question marks. I think there were still some areas of question. And I think that was really empowering when you just trusted me, and when you, it made me rise to the occasion. It really did. It's just so bizarre how I feel myself. It's almost like a physiological reaction when you would take something that was like work related or financially related, I would like almost like shut down, and then when it was all put on me, I just would like power up. And
you're in overdrive right now.
Yeah, I became like super powered when you put it on me. No, but it was like a real night and day difference when it was just all placed on me, and versus when it was kind of gray and who was taking what, and so
exactly. Anyway, so I think this is the healthiest we've ever been. We're excited to come back and share what we're learning with you guys. And
yeah, I'm so stoked to have the podcast back. I really am.
Yeah, it's been a piece of our lives we've been missing for sure.
Thank you all too for those of you that have been so like encouraging and supportive of us taking a break, but then also telling us how much the podcast means to you too. That's been so encouraging. Yeah, I feel like a lot of you were really thoughtful in how you encouraged us to rest, to seek the Lord, but you also made an effort to tell us how much you appreciate the podcast. Like, it was really cool. Yeah. So many of you did that. And so thank you so much. That meant a lot to Katie and I over the break. I think it really helped us with the vision of this. And it was a big reason why we didn't quit all together either. Big time. When we were really unsure and we were reading all your messages, we just felt so much support and love and to do what's best for our family and where God was calling us. Yeah. But we also felt so much like, oh, wow, it does make a difference to be in community with you guys. So thank you. So until next week, bye-bye. Bye.